88.7, Wayne, New Jersey.
Part of the William Patterson Broadcast Network. Brave New Radio.
Brave New Radio. Give us your tired, your poor, your hungry, your rockers, your punks, your freaks, your geeks, your Greeks, your party animals, your gangsters, your commuters, your residents, your students, your alums, your lawyers, your truckers, your calls, your tweets. And we'll give you rock, classic, indie, punk, alternative, easy, hard, raps, rhymes, mixes, and drops. We'll give you kick-ass music because we're WPSC 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio. Sound good?
Well, good morning, good morning. Good morning to you. And yes, if you can hear my voice, that means you're listening to none other than Marc Medley, and this is another edition of The Reading Circle with your host, Marc Medley. We come to you live each Saturday morning from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock with our author interviews, and then we switch formats between 7 and 9. We put on the best of the gospel world, what's going on with the good news in song. So my guest is already on the line. For those of you who've listened, what I call a morning ritual and routine. And that every Saturday morning, we, for the most part, kick the show off the same way. I share the weather with you. I read from 2 books, introduce my guests, share some more information with you, and then come back and resume our interview. So I tell you what, one of the things I always tell you to do is to get on all of your social media sites and let someone know that the Reading Circle is indeed on the air on gobrave.org and WP 88.7 FM. On gobrave.org, we can be heard all around the world, and on WP 88.7 FM, we can be heard all around northern New Jersey and perhaps even in lower Manhattan, lower New York City. So do tell someone to tune in, particularly if they're up at this time of the morning on a Saturday morning after Thanksgiving. If they have nothing else to do, tell them to go ahead and turn on their speakers, go to gobrave.org and hit that orange listen now button. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share what's going on weather-wise with us. I tell you, it has been a wonderful November here in northern New Jersey. Right now it's 49.3 degrees, and we are going to work our way up to a high of 57, low of 38. Cloudy skies with a few showers this afternoon. As I just said, a high of 57, low of 38, 30% chance of rain. Then tonight, 50% chance of rain, showers early, then cloudy overnight. Tomorrow, Sunday, sunshine and clouds mixed, high around 50, low of 28, a few clouds Sunday night as well. Then on Monday, mostly sunny, high of 46, low of 33. And as we roll back on into the week, or further into the week, Tuesday, considerable cloudiness with occasional rain showers, 40% chance of rain, 52 is a high, 48 is a low, cloudy with occasional rain showers on Tuesday night. Rounding out our forecast on Wednesday, considerable cloudiness with occasional rain showers, 60% chance of rain both during the day and the evening. 53 as a high, 36 as a low. That's the weather brought to you right here from the WP 88.7 FM Weather Center. Well, I trust everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I did. I was extremely quiet and mellow on Thanksgiving because I knew on the day after I was actually going to be moving. So I tried to get all the rest that I could on Thanksgiving Day, knowing that I was going to be early the next morning, yesterday on Friday, moving, and that is exactly what happened. So I got my rest on Thursday, worked like a slave on yesterday, and I'm tired as heck today. But nonetheless, the show must go on, so I am up early here at the studio. But I tell you what, we are different selections, and I've actually switched to one out because I came across another book that I wanted to change over to. And that book, and apropos for this time of year, is The Power of Being Thankful. So for today, November the 28th, it says choosing positive thinking. How precious and weighty also are your thoughts to me, O God. How vast is the sum of them. Psalm 139:17. A confident person is a positive person. Confidence and negativity do not go together. They are like oil and water. They simply do not mix. I used to be a very negative person, but thank God he showed me that being positive is much more fun and fruitful. When encouraged to think positively, people often retort, that is not reality. But it has been said that 90% of what we worry about never happens. Why do people assume that being negative is more realistic than being positive? Thinking positive thoughts is a simple matter of whether we want to look at things from God's perspective or Satan's. Are you doing your own thinking? Choosing carefully to think thankful, positive thoughts? Or are you passively thinking whatever kind of thoughts fill your mind? Thinking negatively makes you miserable. Why be miserable when you can be happy? Prayer of thanks. Father, I am so thankful that I can choose what thoughts to dwell on. With your help, I can reject negative thinking and I can focus on thoughts based on your word. Thank you that I can be a confident, positive person. That's from the book, The Power of Being Thankful. And believe me when I tell you, there is some power in being thankful. My pastor and I, we say a lot of things the same, but I tell you one of them that we constantly say is we hate an ingrate, because people don't have to be nice. And if they are nice, they don't have to be nice to you. And I'll talk a little bit about this whole thankful thing since we are in the season of Thanksgiving. Matter of fact, I'll share it with you now before I go on to the Iyanla Van Zandt book. The other day, one of my students, a third grade student, she came up to me and she said, Mr. Medley, by chance, do you have an extra pencil case? And I said, yes, I do. Come by my office tomorrow morning and pick it up. And sure enough, the next morning on the playground, I saw the young lady. And I had forgotten it, but she had not. And she pulled down my jacket and she looked up at me and said, remember the pencil case? And I said, oh, that's right. I tell you what, come with me to the main office. We went to the main office and I gave the little girl a pencil case and she turned around and said, thank you. I appreciate it. And I tell you, that made the rest of my day that a third grader in an urban school, in an urban area, of which people who do not think much of had the wherewithal to turn around and say, thank you, I appreciate it. And that was unsolicited. That was unprompted. That was on her own. And as I said, that made the rest of my day. Every time I thought about that child, say, thank you, I appreciate it. It warmed my heart. So there is something for those who are thankful, and there is also something for those who are ingrates. From the book Until Today by Iyanla Van Zandt for November the 28th. The greatest service I can offer is being willing to live through the pain I experience. Oh, I tell you, these readings be for me. There are several ways to commit suicide. Some people actually do something to end their lives. Others take pieces of their lives and pieces of themselves and tuck them away. They live only a part of their life with only a part of themselves, allowing the other parts to die off. Still others live in a state of numbness. They shield and protect themselves from feeding anything or feeling anything, believing that they can avoid the onslaught of pain. All of these people are the walking dead. They try their best to act alive. They are not alive because they have yet to discover the blessings of pain. To experience mental or emotional pain is actually a gift of life. At the core of your pain is an answer, possibly the very answer you have been seeking. We mistakenly believe that the path to a good life or a better life is to eliminate pain. Suicide is not the way out of pain. In fact, the most loving, alive, and self-supporting thing we can do is to embrace our pain. Often this requires a skill we have not been taught. It requires that we remain present in the midst of a painful experience. I know that's right, because I'm in the midst of a painful one right now. To wake up the parts of pieces of you that are numb, those parts that are fearfully dead, doubtfully immobilized. You begin to pick up pieces and parts that you have tucked away. Staying present in the pain can often remind you that you really do want to live. Until today, you may not have been aware of the benefits of painful experiences. Just for today, open your heart to be present in your own pain. When it seems as if the pain or the memory of the pain is more than you can handle, ask for it to present you with its gift. Today, I'm devoted to remaining fully present and alive in every thought and feeling. That's from Iyanla Vanzant's book, Until Today. And if you've been following the ritual and routine, then you know it is time to introduce my guest, and he is already on the line, and that is none other than Rob Jenkins, also known as Rob Aqua. Rob Jenkins is a writer, award-winning director, and filmmaker within the genre of science fiction, fantasy, horror, and action. He is a graduate of Marymount Manhattan College with a BA in Communication Arts and a member of the National Communication Association, Lambda Pi Eta. Born in the transit of cancer in South Jersey at the start of the 90s and physically writing stories since the age of 8, Rob has dedicated his time to telling the stories he receives in his spirit through the medium of both books and film. There are 3 books that I see on his site, at least. There may be more, but I see Angles of Danger. A nice play on word. A lot of times people might think that's angels. Reforming the Psychic Vampire of the Forest, Chapter 0. Rob Jenkins, good morning and welcome to the Reading Circle with Marc Medley.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I am well. How are you doing in this Thanksgiving season?
I'm doing very well.
Good. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to share some information with our listening audience, and when I come back, we're going to go ahead and start our interview. Matter of fact, my first question is going to be on something that you had in your bio in terms of you writing since the age of 8. So you hang on there, and we're going to start off with that question. But right now, I need to share some information with the listening audience. Listening audience, you know the deal. As I'm sharing this information with you, make sure you go get on all your social media sites, get on your Twitter feeds, get on everywhere, get on your text messaging, get on everything, and let somebody know that Rob Jenkins is on the air with me and that we're going to be talking about his work, and you don't want to miss this particular interview.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't seen your lap in months. And even more stuff. But still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the Reading Circle with your host, Marc Medley. You heard me say while I was opening up that I actually moved on yesterday, and right now I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to be donating to the Goodwill. Yeah. He said, stuff, donate your stuff. Well, I tell you what, I ought to be able to create some jobs with all the stuff that I had left. Well, after moving. Shared that information with you. My guest this morning is Rob Jenkins, also known as Rob Aqua. And he says here in his bio that he's been writing stories since the age of 8. Rob, how did that all start? Because I work with kids every day, and a good majority of them do not like to read, and they certainly do not like to write. So what was different with you at 8 that you actually wanted to write stories?
I'm not really sure. I remember I had all these notebooks, and I just felt compelled to write stories. I always was really fascinated with how stories were told and developing characters and different things like that.
When you say how stories were told, were you around folks who were telling stories, or was it stories that you read in school, or how did you come about listening or hearing these stories?
Yes. Well, my mom read to me a lot, and my father would tell stories a lot. And, in the libraries and things, the teachers would read stories and just kind of let us run around the library and pick the books that we liked, even though we couldn't read. But, yeah, all that was always very fascinating to me. And I always felt compelled to kind of tell my own story with my own characters.
And see,
at a very young age.
Once again, you affirmed and confirmed for me something that I say constantly. And I tell people, I don't care what position title you hold, nobody's going to tell me any different. It all starts in the home. I heard you just say that your mom told you stories, and your dad told you stories. Your mom provided you books, or what have you. And then once that happened, it also happened in school. So I just have a sneaky suspicion that had something to do with your desire to write stories. Now, some folks would debate me on that, but I tell you what, it does start in the home. And most of my children who like to read, somebody at home is reading or either sharing books with them. So that's my other question for you. Well, did you like to? You like, because again, many kids, is particularly in this age, and you said you're a child of the 90s, particularly of this age, they don't like doing that thing called reading.
Right. Actually, when I think about it, I think at a young age I really liked reading, but I kind of lost my love for reading because we were kind of forced to read these certain types of books, and I feel like those books were boring. So I just associated that with reading being boring until I kind of started reading books that I wanted to read again, and then it kind of started building up from there.
Now, Rob, you bring up an extremely good point. And for teachers who are listening in the audience, and parents, and children for that matter, Rob brought up the whole notion of interest. Because a lot of times what we do is we do force reading material on children that they have no interest in. So they don't read it. Like, I don't like reading because I'm not interested in it. But if you do give them something that they are interested in, guess what? They will read it. Now, for those of you who are in education out there, and again, even for parents, it's not just for educators, do not assign reading as a punishment, because when you do that, whoever receives that is going to take reading as punishment. They will always associate reading with punishment. So now when it's time for them to read for pleasure or read on their own, psychologically in their mind, they're associating reading with punishment, so they're not going to do it. Whenever I was a child, I had to go sit down and read. That's a punishment. Or even when I was in school and got in trouble, I had to go sit in the corner and they'd give me a book and say, read. Do not associate reading with punishment. And let children pick their own topics of what they want to read. Otherwise, what will happen is just what Rob just said, that you will lose interest in it. And in his case, he picked it back up, but many children do not. So allow them to choose, age appropriate. I'm not telling you to go out there and give a 5-year-old, a porn book or an erotic fiction or whatever. I'm not telling you to do that, but let the child read something that he or she wants to read. So now, Rob, your books, based on your bio, deals with like the science fiction. How did you kind of like lean toward that? How did you wind up going into the horror fiction and the science fiction and the fantasy horror and so forth and so on?
That's what I've always loved as far as movies, TV shows, and books, and science fiction and horror and action.
What were some of your science fiction like movies? I mean, were you one of those like Into the Twilight Zone, or when Twilight Zone is way back there?
Yeah.
So I don't even. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I like Twilight Zone. Let's see. As far as movies, of course, like The Matrix.
Right.
We like Dark City. all types. I consumed so much when I was a kid, I feel, as far as movies and TV shows, science fiction, especially, superheroes,
right?
Reading comic books and stuff as a child, that all of it just kind of blends into my head. So I had a huge love for it.
And see, again, as in talking with you, and when I say what I say generally in my interviews is based on my experience with working with children, and I've been working with kids since I was a kid. And what I have seen over time, and some people debate me on that, and they might be right. But what I've seen over time in terms of all the electronics and everything we have, that many times our children's imagination is either decreased or wiped away because the electronics, you really don't have to have an imagination. You need to come up with skills to be able to play the games and so forth, but you don't have to have an imagination. What I'm hearing from you is that you have a vivid imagination.
Yeah, I guess so.
What kind of, it sounds like you never thought about it, but what drove, or like when you come up with science fiction ideas, what feeds into that?
I feel like my life, I try to take, I remember as a kid, when you kind of pretend things all the time. So you could be going through a quote-unquote mundane situation, but you heighten it up with some type of story or some type of thing, some type of game that you might be playing with your friends, like the floor is lava and you have to get across the floor type of thing.
Right.
I kind of still do that, but just with today's situations, and I kind of just turn that into a science fiction story and write it down.
All right, if you've just joined us, my guest this morning is Rob Jenkins, also known as Rob Aqua. And he is the writer, he's a director, filmmaker in the genre of science fiction, fantasy, horror, and action. That's what we're talking about this morning. And he's young. He was born in the 90s. I mean, like in the 90s. I think, let me see, in 1990, I turned, close to 40, not too far away from 40 in 1990. Really. Let me see. I'll have to do my math, but I was a little bit less than 40, but it wasn't far. But in any event, so he's a child of the 90s. And we're talking about his work. Let somebody know that we are on the air. Get on all your social media sites and tell them to tune in to gobrave.org. And if you're in the northern New Jersey area, WP 88.7 FM, I'm going to share some more information with you, but you know what to do while I'm doing that. You can still listen in. I want you to, if there is such a thing as multitasking, I want you to do it, because some will debate that. They say there's no such thing as multitasking. You don't do one thing at a time. But if there is such a thing as multitasking, I want you to listen to the information I'm sharing with you, as well as get on all of your sites and let somebody know that Rob is indeed on the air with me.
What up? This is Watson. You're listening to New Jersey's #1 college radio station, WP 88.7 Brave New Radio.
I started going cold turkey. Well, at least when I'm in the car.
I know I shouldn't do it, but it's so hard to stop. That's why I hide it from myself, so I won't be tempted.
I used to do it all the time. I stopped by locking it in my glove compartment.
My friend used to do it way too much. Now I turn it off when we're in the car.
My solution is simple. I just don't do it.
There are lots of ways to stop yourself and others from texting and driving. How will you stop? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
All right, do not text and drive. Now, I'm not talking just to you, I'm talking to myself. I keep my phone near me on the chair, but I don't use it unless I'm stopped at a stoplight. And I was sharing with you all last week. I tell you what, if you want to have a remote control for traffic lights, just want to send a text. Just have the desire to, hey, I want to catch a red light so I can send this text out. Watch how many green lights you get. All of them will be green. I guarantee you, your phone becomes a traffic light remote control when you want to send a text. Now, at the times when you don't want to send one, or if you're running late and you want to get to where you want to be, you're guaranteed to hit every red light along your path. So again, if you want to catch all greens, take this tip from me. Have a text in mind, or somebody that you're trying to text, and don't do it until you get to a red light. Watch how many greens you get. My guest this morning is Rob Jenkins, also known as Rob Aqua, a young man who has a BA in Communication Arts. And he is a member of the National Communication Association, Lambda Pi Eta. So, Rob, all right, now you've been writing stories since you were like 8. Did you publish whenever you were a child, or when you were in high school, or was that later?
Published later. I never could finish a work to publish it. but I feel like that's for a reason. So everything happens for a reason.
Yes, that's right. Everything, everything does happen for a reason. So, all right. So now, I see 3 books here on your site. I see Angles of Danger. Love to play on word. Reforming the Psychic Vampire of the Forest, Chapter 0. So I tell you, and that's the first. Chapter 0 is only the first chapter, according to the website. When did you decide to put pen to paper to actually finish a project and to get it published?
I decided, I want to say when I was in college, I started writing this book called Acting Out. And it was basically a compilation of short stories and poems. And from that, I ended up I finished that book, and then I ended up writing a sequel to that one. But I remember halfway through writing the sequel, I was like, I don't think I want to publish either of these books. But I kind of just reformed it and turned it into, or kind of matured it. And that ended up becoming both Angles of Danger and Of the Forest, Chapter 0.
When you were writing, in terms of how many times and I'm dating myself, but I remember back in the day where on TV you always see a writer, they were at a typewriter, and you would see them rip the page out, boil it up, crumple it up, throw it in the garbage or either on the floor, and then start something again. And I know in movies or in film or in TV, every time you have to do it again, they take 1, take 2, take 3, so forth and so on. How many times did you go back in to keep massaging the story, or were you able to blast straight through from the beginning to the end?
Usually it was like different processes for each book. For Angles of Danger, I kind of blasted through, did the whole thing, and then I went back and fixed some stuff. And then for Reforming the Psychic Vampire, I was just all the way through. And for Of the Forest, Chapter 0, I would write stories, but I would go back and maybe take some things out, maybe add some things in.
So you talked earlier about as a child you was always interested in characters. How did you come about, or how do you go about with your character development? And each author I talk to kind of has a different little thing they do to develop their characters. Some people eat with them, sleep with them, they walk with them, they talk with them, they ride the bus with them. And for other people, they're like, no, I don't go through all that. They kind of sit on the shelf and so forth and so on. What's the deal with your character development?
That's my favorite thing to do, character development. I kind of walk with them and talk with them a bit. I kind of pull them from either different parts of me or different parts of other people that I have in my life. Sometimes I combine them with people, so I might be like, oh, well, I like this person's this and this person's this, and I just make them one person and one character. That's pretty much what I'll do.
I had an author, and I've shared this story over and over again because it's always been fascinating to me. Whenever he originally was writing the book, the intent was to, by the end of the book, kill the character off. But throughout the stages of character development, he began to really like the character so much that he couldn't do it. So he had to rewrite the entire ending of the book. He had to write this character, for the most part, right now to keep this character in. Whenever intentionally or in the beginning, initially rather, his intent was to kill that character off. Have you ever had experiences where the characters, either you begin to love them or you hate them, or you changed course as you were going through the book?
Yes. It's really fascinating. I've heard other authors talk about how the story kind of comes alive and becomes its own thing, and you thought you were steering at the beginning, but it kind of starts steering itself.
Exactly.
So you're just dictating or following. Yeah. That happens a lot.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. That the authors say, well, the characters really I've had authors tell me where characters have come to them in their sleep, or characters have literally talked to them and said, no, this is what you will do. See, I'm a musician, and I've been able to complete a CD with 10, 12, 13 songs, a couple of CDs with that, as a matter of fact. And people always tell me there's a book in me. So it was interesting for me to hear you say, I started, but I never complete, because sometimes I feel like, what, if I were to do a book, I probably wouldn't sit still long enough to complete it. But on the other hand, I probably would. I just need a good storyline to go from the beginning to end. How do you get a storyline and then be able to work it from chapter 0 to whatever the end chapter is?
I'm actually, the reason why I did Of the Forest and the Ways I'm doing it from chapter and releasing it by chapter is basically what you just said about sometimes sitting down and be able to complete something. I also feel like a lot of people also have short attention spans, but
right.
I have an overall arc of a story where I want a character to go from, like, the beginning, the climax, and the end. And then I kind of let the story kind of grow on its own for each chapter. I kind of let life influence me, too, as I'm kind of going through. So,
in terms of your friends, whenever because again, we're going back to 8 years old, and you were the kid that liked to read and write. Was there any peer pressure on you for friends saying, why would you want to do that? Or, you're a geek, or you're a nerd, or you're this, a bookworm, or this, that, and the other. Did you get that kind of pressure? Because I remember, I was one of those kids too. I love to read as well. So I know of what I speak. That's why I'm asking you, were your friends kind of like that? Or were they all like the techie or the science fiction or the bookworm kids?
No, my friends they didn't peer pressure me or anything at all into trying to be anything else. They would be interested in their own things. That's why I really like them. I like meeting people that have kind of maybe different perspectives and kind of like doing different things, because it just makes life kind of more diverse in a way.
I know that's right, and it really does. I mean, that's what it's all about. Everybody has their thing, if you will. So you also have videos. So you're a director, film writer, so forth. How is that going? I mean, what is your aspirations there? Are you looking to be like the next whoever the great science fiction director is, or is that just a side thing, something you do on the side? Where are you looking to take that to?
I really like making short films and music videos, and that's something that I really like to collab with people on, and just create. That's kind of something that, I let grow kind of fluidly as well. But it's something I love doing. That's how I do freelance film right now.
Okay.
So if someone can hire me, if they want something done, and I'll shoot it, I'll edit it, type of thing.
Does your books and your films ever cross? Do you ever say, for example, do you ever do a film about angles of danger or reforming the psychic vampire of the forests?
I plan to do something like that in the future, but I don't feel like I'm ready to do it just yet.
Okay. Now, it's interesting. A couple of years ago, it might have been last year or earlier this year, I can't tell because time flies so quickly, I had a high school student. She was 13 or 14, and she also wrote in this vampire-like genre. And I had an interesting time chatting with her as a 14-year-old that wrote into this genre. What is it about, like, say, for example, a vampire that is attractive?
There's a lot of things. For Reforming the Psychic Vampire, it wasn't a traditional vampire type of story.
Okay.
It was more talking about people that kind of suck your energy away and kind of take away your life force just by being around you type of thing.
Oh, there are some like that.
Yeah.
That's a reality. There are some people exactly what you just described.
Yeah.
They actually zap your energy.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to explore a character that was kind of in a relationship.
Okay.
And was taking someone's life force away as they were trying to elevate themselves and elevate their life. They were kind of like trying to pull them down. So it's just a short book about that, pretty much.
Wow. And that, like I said, I laugh because that is reality. You have people like that. You have people that literally, because they have such negative energy that when you get around them, you find yourself being tired or you find yourself being negative or whatever. Right. Exactly. So, and this is not only a vampire, this is a psychic vampire. So you got two things going on there. You got the vampire and the psychic. So it's nightfall, the realm of dreams. A shadowy figure walks down the street of a shadowy city. Is he sleeping? Is he dead? If so, is he in purgatory? Is this only a nightmare? Do predators stop to ask such questions while they are on the hunt? He's looking for his lover, psychic vampire, a creature who feeds off of the life force of others. A short poetic narrative that follows the narrator through his contorted and distortedly dependent relationship. Wow, that's now. See, again, you got two things. You got a bunch of things going on there. That sounds interesting. And I told you the first one is angles of danger. Now, on a quick read, you would think that said angels, but it said angles, A-N-G-L-E-S, of danger. So, which one came first? Are they in the order that they came in on your website, or are they just, which one came first?
Yeah, they're in the order that I published them in, because I had finished Of the Force, but I didn't publish it yet. And I wrote Reformers Like the Vampire and published that before I put out Of the Force.
Okay. So I tell you what, I'm getting ready to share some more information with our listening audience. Again, you know what to do. I don't have to tell you. Let somebody know that I have this young man on the air. And because, see, this is the other thing. Rob, everybody thinks the young people that all y'all want to do is make trouble, go to jail, do drugs, get yourself killed. You know, people don't associate, like, talking about positive. For some reason, people don't associate young and positive. And here I have someone on the air who is doing something positive, and he is young. So I'm telling you all, listening audience, I'm telling you America, I'm telling you the world. We do have positive youngsters out here who are doing positive things. All of them are not standing on the street corner. All of them are not somewhere doing something they're not supposed to be doing. We have folks who are literally trying to make a difference in the world with their craft, and Rob is one of them. Rob is not an old man. Rob is a young man. So I share all that to say there are some young people doing their thing in the proper and correct way. I'm going to share some information with you. Get on the air. Let someone know that Rob is indeed on the air with me.
How can I make money in the music business? Why copyright?
Should I make a CD anymore?
Trying to break into the music and entertainment biz? Wondering how the business works? Wondering how guys like Elton John and MC Hammer go bankrupt?
Why am I not making any cash?
Tune in to WP Brave New Radio every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Hang with the university's music business faculty hosts, me, Steve Marconi.
And me, Dave Phil. Plus, we'll have industry guests and students from the music management program.
How do I get gigs down at the shore?
Call in with your questions and hear the latest in industry happenings.
How do I get my music on iTunes?
How do I get on a tour? It's Music Biz 101 and more every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Only on WP Brave New Radio.
Your secretary's got our checks, right?
Mine's direct deposit, I think.
Want to expand your horizons? Want to broaden your mind? Well, listen to the only show of its kind. Listen to The Reading Circle.
We bring you what's going on in the world of reading, in the world of books. Sometimes the book may be from 20, 30 years ago, because the thing about books, they are timeless, particularly if there's a good message. And then there are times when we do books that are hot off the press, that were just released.
Listen to The Reading Circle every Saturday morning from 6 a.m.
The Reading Circle with your host, Marc Medley.
Only on WP 88.7 FM.
That's correct. It is only on WP 88.7 FM and GoBrave.org. Have been behind these microphones for the last 14 years. And I am ever grateful and thankful. I've met some wonderful people of all walks of life. I've met from the no profile to the highest of profiles. Even though we may not, in some cases, have met face to face, we've met on the air, on telephone, via the telephone, just like we're doing this morning with Rob. So I am ever grateful to be on the air for 14 years, heading into the 15th season, 15th year, heading into that. My guest this morning is Rob Jenkins. Rob, I see you have ROB Productions. Is that your own company?
Yes, that's my company.
Okay, so not only is he a writer, publisher, he's also an entrepreneur. He started his own company. Now, is that a publishing company, or is it just kind of covers everything you do, such as your videos and books and so forth and so on?
Yeah, it just covers everything that I do. It's just what I put that under. I put everything I do under that umbrella.
I hear you. In terms of your publishing, did you self-publish, or did you go to a publishing house, or does publishing fall under ROB Productions?
Publishing falls under RB Productions, but that's pretty much self-publishing.
So you self-publish. See, that's the thing. Again, earlier I was teasing about being close to 40 in the 90s. So it depends on how far into the 90s you were born. If you were born, say, for like 1992-ish, somewhere around there, I'd have been about 30. But if you were born 1998-ish, I'd have been almost 40. But but where I'm going with this and having some fun with it is self-publishing was not around 30, 40, 50 years ago. If you were a writer, you had no choice but to submit your concepts and your manuscripts to a publishing house, and you might have to have submitted that to 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 publishing houses to continuously get the rejection letters to say thank you but no, until finally you would hit upon one that would say we'll take your work. And then in many instances they would try to now change your concept or not put the cover you wanted on, so forth and so on. In other words, they owned it. And a lot of times the writer or the author would kind of lose some of what they actually put into it because the publishing house is looking for the, sales. We want to be able to make this thing sellable. Over time and with technology, self-publishing has come along where folks can go ahead and get their work out there without having to go through all those rejections of no's. The only thing with that, though, is now you have to do all your own editing, so forth and so on. Do you do your editing or do you have someone do that for you?
I have someone do that for me.
Ah, wise choice, my man. Wise choice. Do it, I can do it. But at the same time, we caution you. If you are going to go the self-publishing route, get somebody else to edit. And I'll tell you why. Because your mind sees what you intended. So if you write something down, as far as your mind is concerned, that's on the paper. When in effect, it may not be. So let's say, for example, if you're writing a sentence and you know in your mind as you're writing it, you wanted to say the bird on the street. In your and you everything else is there. That's why I was teasing Rob just now and said, wise man, my choice. Because sometimes when we try to do it ourselves, we miss. Because it's a psychological thing. The brain sees what it wants to see. The brain knows what you want it to write. So that's good. You do your own editing in terms of your covers. You do those on your own?
Yes. Well, I did two of them, Angles of Danger and Reform the Psychic Vampire. I had a little help on, but I had the original concept. And then for Of the Force, a friend of mine designed that for me.
You see, that's the beauty of the self-publishing, because you really don't lose any of your creativity. Sometimes, like I said, with the publishing houses, you have to give up some of your creativity in order to, for one, for them to accept your work. And two, the reason they're doing that is because they're really worried about, at the end of the day, the almighty dollar. They want that thing to sell. So they do what they need to do for that. And that's not to say those who self-publish don't want theirs to sell, because they do. But they also want their creativity. So in terms of now having to promote your work, and I generally ask this questions of my authors as well, in terms of, because some people, they're like, I like both equally. I like the talent piece and I like the business piece. Some people say, I love the talent piece and I hate the business piece. Kind of which camp do you fall in?
That's a good question. I love the creative part. I don't hate the business piece. I'm just still learning about that. I'm actually on a book tour right now, like going around and promoting the book, and I really like doing that. I like getting to the people and talking to them about the books. So
that's interesting. I like that answer. You said it's not like necessarily hate it, it's just that I'm still learning it, and that's a very good answer, because at the end of the day, it's our work, but we do want to sell it to make a little bit of money. I mean, most of us who are in this are not necessarily in it to make money. If we make money, great, and if we don't, it's still okay, because I mean, a lot of time with my CDs, some of them, many of them, I just give out for free because I want people to be able to hear my work. And so it's the same thing with me. Authors is like, I'm not looking to make myself a millionaire out of this. Now, if it happens, great. I'm not going to turn it away. But if I make a few dollars here or there, but more importantly, I want people to experience a part of Rob Jenkins. I want people to, when they read Angles of Danger or Reforming the Psychic Vampire or Of the Forest, that they walk away from there getting a piece of you. Because really, any artist, when you do what you do, you're giving a piece of yourself away. Yeah. You're giving people a chance to experience who you are. or what work has come through you. And that's fascinating to me, that, you almost get a chance to leave a legacy that if you live to be 100 years old, somewhere angles of danger is going to be lying around somewhere, or either Reforming the Psychic Vampire or Of the Forest. There's going to be a copy in somebody's attic or in somebody's basement or in somebody's bookshelf or somebody's library or somebody's digital files or something. Even though you may not be here anymore, your work is still here. That is powerful.
Yes.
And so for you to have been doing this since you were like a child and still doing, I mean, okay, you have 3 books out. Is there a 4th book on the way, or in the process of writing the 4th book?
Yes, I'm actually working on, so Of the Forest is, it's just chapter 0 that's out right now, but I'm actually working on chapter 1, and eventually it's going to be chapter 2, 3, and it's going to go all the way up to 12.
That's funny, because I like the way you have chapter 0 is only the first chapter. You're actually starting with chapter 0. Most people start with chapter 1. So the fact that you're in chapter 0 is interesting. So talk to me a little bit about, you just brought it up about being on a book tour. I mean, usually I give the last 5 minutes of the interview for the author to promote, but I tell you what, we'll jump there now in terms of the book tour. Where are you all heading out to? Or who are you with? Or are you on your own? Or how's it working?
I'm on my own. And I just had an event in Delaware that was on November 1st, and then I have an event in Orlando, Florida, December 20th. I'm going to be at an author fest down here.
All right, and then you've had the opportunity today to do the interview on the radio. Have you done other radio interviews as well?
Yes.
That's
I've done one with you. Yeah.
And so now, because the listening audience, I always tell my guests they have an open invite. That anytime they have updated their work or they do some new work, they have the opportunity to come back again. And Rob is one of those. Rob has come back to join us again to talk more about his work. So, all right, so you go into Orlando, and you were in, what part of Delaware were you in?
I was in Bear, Delaware.
Okay. I'm asking because my daughter goes to school down there. She's down there in the Dover area, down there at Dell State. And so so I was wondering if you were in that area at all. So video-wise, what's going on there? Or any new videos coming up, or you adding to your collection, or what's going on there?
Yeah, I'm working with some clients on with some videos, like music videos or cover videos. They sing someone else's song or something like that. Yeah, I'm working on some projects with some clients that will be coming up. And I'll post on the website when they're done.
Now, as an enterprising young man, what advice do you have for other students coming behind you? Again, I ask these questions based on who I work with and who I serve, and I'm always looking for something to inspire them and to motivate them, even though I know inspiration and motivation comes from within. But still, it's always nice to have somebody to look up to, a role model or somebody who's actually done it, to say, well, like I said earlier, wow, if Rob can do this, I think I can do it too. What do you tell kids when you talk to them?
I would say discover your passion, and then develop that, and trust that your passion will take you on a journey to where you're trying to go.
I like that. I may quote you on that and put it on Twitter. Trust that your passion will take you on the journey you want to go. Is that how you said it? Matter of fact, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put it in right now as we speak, and then I'll quote you on it. Hold on. I'm going to put myself in the position here so that I can actually type that in. So let's see. And I'll quote it to you. Let's see. Say it again. Say how you said it again.
Discover your passion.
Discover.
And trust that your passion.
Your passion, and trust that your passion. Go ahead.
Will take you where you need to go.
Will take you where you can hear my fingers typing, where you need to go. And I'm gonna put, let's see, Rob Jenkins on the reading circle. I always tell, in many instances, especially since I'm near the keyboard and so forth, I always tell the authors during the interview, I will quote them something they said during the show that leaped out at me. And what you just said leaped out at me. Discover your passion and trust that your passion will take you where you need to go. Rob Jenkins on the Reading Circle with Marc Medley. I'm going to send that out right now. That's going to my Twitter sites, all my Twitter sites. I like blending the technology. All right, so young man, how do you, okay, this is where I'm fascinated, Rob, because like I said, we're constantly being hit with the negativity with our youth. How do you do what you do without being distracted?
Just remaining focused on, I feel like I'm here for a reason.
Bingo.
So I feel like I'm trying to just live whatever my purpose is on this planet. And that's just what I try to stick with.
I know that's right. I know that's right. And I tell you what, do you also go by Rob Pro?
Yes, that's my Twitter. Rob Pro, R0BPRO.
Because we have a proud mom, we have a proud mom out there. As I see, Mom has chimed in on the Twitter feed. So Mom is proud of you, and she's making it known out here. Doc, I just discovered that I miss radio, listening to Marc Medley. She's not doing.
No.
Oh my goodness. Well, she'll be back. And darling, your mom and I had great fun on the air. She was with me almost 2 years. She would do the motivational moments. We had a segment in the show where she would come on and actually do some inspirational moments for the listening audience. And then we had a chance to link up one time at a book author signing or whatever they call that down in Orange one day. Had an absolute blast. And so I see Mom is on there. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Darlene, you and yours. So, all right. So, again, enterprising young man on the air. I'm always thrilled for that because, like I said, you know, I think each generation bashes the one following them. So, I mean, it's not anything strange because it's kind of like it's done. But I think like whatever they call you all now, the Generation Xers or the this, that, and the other, I think you all have taken more bashing than probably most generations in the past. Maybe not. I mean, historically, maybe the other generations have too. But I am always thrilled to have somebody on the air who's doing something positive, who knows where they're going, and can actually serve as a model for whenever somebody says nobody's doing it. I say, yes, I can, because I know Rob Jenkins. Yes, there is, because there's a young man that I know that I've had on my show twice now who's doing this, so forth and so on. So I am thrilled about that. We're coming down to the last couple of minutes of the show, and like I said, you have the opportunity to promote. You can shout out. Definitely, you better shout out your mom. You can shout out, you can promote the book. You could say anything other than a dollar amount. So as long as you don't get into a price amount, the mic is yours. So I'm going to give the mic over to you, and then we'll conclude.
Okay. I would just like to say definitely shout out to my mom, shout out to my dad, shout out to my whole family. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at R0BPRO, and check out my website, RLBproductions.com, R0Bproductions.com. And that's it.
All right. So he had the quick shout outs as we get ready to round out the show. My clock says 6:54, which means we have about 6 minutes before we transition over into the gospel music, which is the good news and song. I'm looking here on the Twitter side. I see you surrounded by a whole bunch of youngsters with Of the Forest or Out of the Forest book tour. I see you holding a sign. I see the picture here on Twitter. So, all right. Looks like things are cranking. I see a lot of young people in there. So that warms my heart to see young people doing it. And it's not like I'm that old, but I'm older than I have been, or I was. And I can remember being those ages. And so now I'm at this age, and hopefully I'm here another 30, 40, 50 years, and we'll remember this age. But in any event, I've had a wonderful time chatting with you this morning. I wish you nothing but the best. For those of you in the listening audience, again, it's ROB Productions. And it's none other than Rob Jenkins, also known as Rob Aqua. What is Rob Aqua? I mean, Aqua, I know Aqua is like water and blue and all. What's up? What's the deal with that?
I came up with that name when I was in 5th grade. It was like my alter ego. I don't know where it came from, really. I don't know why I chose Aqua.
So now, do you and your alter ego, did you all have chats with each other?
No, we were one and the same. It just was, I guess, just was a name.
Okay, so because I laugh because some people have alter egos they actually chat and talk with. Like, you know what? That's the other side. So okay, when you say that was my alter ego, all right. So Rob Aqua and Rob Jenkins and Rob Pro, you what? Again, I wish you nothing but the best. I want you, as my mother used to say, and I guess she still say it, keep on keeping on. Keep on doing what you're doing. Stay positive. Represent your family well. I tell the kids all the time that they're not representing just themselves. They're representing their families. They're representing their schools. They're representing their communities. That it's not just about them. That when they go out there and screw up, they screw everybody else up. And the reverse works as well. When you go out there and do something well, you make everybody, make your community look good. You make your school look good. I mean, I see you have here a graduate of Marymount Manhattan College. You make them look good. Lambda Pi Eta, you make them look good. You make everybody else look good when you're making yourself look good as well. So I congratulate you for that. And as I just said, keep on keeping on.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Well, same here. Again, I wish you all we've just zipped through Thanksgiving. We're heading into the December holidays now. So if I don't get to speak with you again, I wish you all those different holidays is coming through in December. Nothing but the best, and I hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
You too.
All right. Take care now.
All right.
Bye now.
All right.